you want to make it easier to file your taxes. You build a web app for that.
Yeah,
It's a complex domain, right? Like tax and stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got concrete
yeah,
things you're trying to achieve.
yeah,
Trying to build something fun is really, really
yeah,
abstract and really, really you don't know it until it's done. And if it sounds fun on paper, you can't prove it until you've built it and
yeah.
people that aren't you have playtested it.
You could spend 20 minutes on a drawing, post it online, and get a mountain of praise. Or you could spend months or even years working on an indie game, release it, and get ripped apart in the reviews. That's just the nature of the industry. Every frame of an indie game is an expression of these indie developers.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Indie Neighbor, the show where I interview other independent game developers. Today I'm talking to Dan. He's the creator of a game called NARNOK, which looks like a science fiction based card game about exploring the universe with looks like a combat system inspired by like a Hearthstone style. So go ahead, Dan, introduce yourself.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man. So yeah, absolutely right. Working on NARNOK, NARNOK. And it's games similar to uh I guess if you played Super Auto Pets or The Bazaar, those kind of games where you manage your lineup, or Backpack Battles is another one. You manage your kind of inventory or your lineup of units or cards. And yeah, you build that, try to gather NAR and gather NOK. These are the resources, and you battle other enemies. So it's an auto battler where you verse other players' ghost lineup. Um, yeah, that's kind of the high level elevator pitch.
Yeah. You say you gather NAR and you gather NOK. Can you explain these? What are these? What do you need these for? What exactly are they?
Yeah, it's quite a weird concept, if I say so myself, I guess. Um, so in game lore, Na is and Nok are like the building blocks of the universe. So there's no like in other games you might collect like stone and wood and copper and iron and
Mm-hmm.
these kind of resources. It's very, very abstract in that you're going between different universes and the only commonality between them is this kind of abstract building block. So there's like Na, which is like white and order and light, and then there's Nok, which is dark and chaos, shadow and disorder. So these kind of two things together are the building blocks of the universes in this game, and so you're kind of this over being, this multiversal being that's trying to out collect your universes that you're invading. It's kind of weird, kind of abstract. I'm still figuring it out a bit as it's going on. But that's been the core basis for the lore going on. And so these two resources, they become your score. So whether you win a battle or not is based on how much Narnok you have, and they also become your currency. So you buy things in the universal shops with them, and it's also the thing you gather in battles as well. So it's kind of like those are the only two things that matter. That makes sense. Like only Na and Nok matter within the game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gold. There's no credits. There's no kind of other currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just like the two things. It's been really fun to play around with from a game design point of view.
Yeah, this is it. So, maybe I misheard, but the the idea of Narnock, is that something that comes from like science fiction, like past, or is this something that you created yourself for this game?
Yeah, so it doesn't really exist anywhere else. There's definitely inspirations. So if you ever watched the '90s sci-fi show Babylon 5, so that has this idea of like shadows, and the light creatures. There's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
these two distinct things.
Yeah.
It has a bit of a background in like yin and yang. There's that kind
Mm-hmm.
of those two elements interacting with each other. So there's a little bit of that, but the actual like na nok, um, I don't know where it really came from. Those words. I guess I bought a domain back in 2019 called narnok.com,
Yeah.
and from then I had like an idea of the game back then. Very, very different. It was medieval based. Was like a card game, still worked completely different. And then since then it's kind of evolved and you know how ideas get in your head and they kind of worm around and they become something
Yeah,
weird to explain, but yeah, it's
yeah.
kind of been like that kind of process.
Um, yeah, yeah, and I'm thinking of like the light and dark side of the Force in Star Wars and that kind of
Yes.
thing as well,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, so so you say that everything in the universe, the only thing that you travel around all these different planets, explore everything, and the only one thing that everybody has in common is they understand this principle of NAR and NOK. Um, like, how does that like benefit somebody? Are they trying to relieve themselves of knock and gain nar, or like how does this kind of really influence players?
Yeah, I'd say at the moment the theme isn't really explored enough in the game. So the current version of it, it's in 0.4. It's in a public alpha. It's on itch.io with
Yeah.
a Steam demo coming out soon. And in the current build, it's really like there's just these two resources, and you invade other universes. And inside those universes, there's like a vortex of NAR and a vortex of NOK,
Hmm.
and you're kind of trying to steal and gather and just hoard this resource. But there's no real like the only way you'd know about these bigger themes is like this interview or like me saying it
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
reading the description. I found it quite tough to it's more of a game design challenge I found to actually explain the theme without explaining it. So I've been really trying to like avoid a tutorial, really trying to avoid like a cinematic or a lore drop.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to more and more use imagery. So I work with a really talented pixel artist called Val, and try to use imagery and the UI to bring that story about.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a challenge because it's like these terms don't exist, and as well as like the story is kind of evolving as I develop more and more. It's kind of like you're writing a book,
Yeah.
and at the point where you turn a page, you don't really know what's going to be there. You have a vague idea, but it
Yeah.
changes as you write it, as you build it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
So Narnock is a term for the player of the game, but the aliens, that species and players that are characters that you encounter throughout the game, they know it by all kinds of different names. Like, it's just a kind of a feeling throughout the universe. Is that correct?
yeah, it's yeah. That I guess that you mentioned the light side of the force and dark side of the force. There is a bit of that. It's like you are kind of manipulating these aliens, these different species across universes to do your bidding to collect these kind of abstract building blocks. These
Yeah.
not even like atoms, right? Not even like to the point of like hydrogen and this kind of stuff. But yeah, in my mind they don't really understand, but they're kind of doing your bidding and your lineup, and you're stealing planets and getting cards from more aliens and not
Yeah.
just aliens themselves, but their like their landscape or their housings and using all these kind of stuff with different abilities. That's been the idea from the start is that you're this kind of abstract overbeing and you've picked like the worthy challenges of like individuals inside species as well as like their artifacts and their planets and things that they find useful to achieve your kind of not even nefarious end, but like your aim,
Hmm.
almost like a cosmic being, kind of like you go to the comic book world to be like Galactus, like not necessarily
Hmm.
evil, but he's got this like this hunger for planets. This is kind of similar, right? You're just this kind of cosmic being. You have these goals, but it's not really like good and evil to that
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah. Um, cool. The abstract aspect aside, let's get to kind of the main, the realistic thing, um, which is, it sound like when I was looking through it, there's an entire, like, you're constructing an entire universe. I think that there's a node based system,
Mhm.
um, and but there's also sort of an aspect to it where you are constructing a team of characters that need to fight against other characters. Um, so I'm wondering, like, how does this game start out? Like, are you through the eyes of one alien who gets on a ship, travels the universe to different planets, or are you kind of like really zoomed out and you're controlling much more at a time? Like what's the real logistics here?
Yeah, I'd say you're much more zoomed out. So there's two, I guess, major things, or maybe three, I guess. So one is your lineup. This is kind of your if you go to these other similar games, this is your inventory you're managing. These are your cards, and
Mhm.
these are the things that'll when a battle starts, they'll have cooldowns or they'll have passives, they'll have abilities. And it'll kind of automatically fight versus another player's snapshot or ghost. So it's multiplayer but asynchronous.
Could you give an
That's your
example of
lineup.
one of those? Like just one of the
Yeah, so
cards?
so one like we've got basic cards that'll just steal every 4 seconds, steal 10 NAR from the enemy.
Hmm.
So you'll steal from their actual like resource pile, and
Yeah.
then you got another card which is like gather 20 NOK every 2 seconds, which will gather from like the neutral pile. And so battle is the neutral vortexes, these spinning vortexes. It's in the trailer, but I'll point to it pretending like you've edited it in.
Yeah.
So these ones, these are like that's what determines how a battle ends. So it's like
Mhm.
the neutral pile when that runs out, the battle's over. So it's not about like if you compare to other auto battles where you have to destroy your enemy or reduce their health to zero or get rid of all their units. It's not like that.
Hmm.
It's really economy based. You have to outgather them. You have to have more NARNOK than your enemy. By the time the neutral NARNOK or this kind of like universal NARNOK runs out, so you like both of you are draining this universe dry. Um, but all that matters is by the end you've got more than them, which unlocks some cool stuff. Like it unlocks abilities, or it's unlocked some games. It's cool game design stuff like spawning more to extend the battle longer. So some cards will spawn Narnok into the neutral pile. Some
Hmm.
will gather, some will steal, some will, advance cooldowns of adjacent cards. All this kind of stuff.
It-
So that's kind of been the core tenet. It's all about gathering Narnok
yeah.
from a game design point of view.
Is there anything that that like you unleash like a universal solar storm on them, like or any kind of attacks that are very like weather based or really like realistic in that sense?
Not really. It's really just been about the kind of gathering and resource management. I am building more complex cards, I guess. For me, it was really important early on. I did have a lot of stuff like you would destroy an enemy's card, you would freeze them so their cooldowns wouldn't activate,
Hmm.
all this kind of stuff. But I found most players in my playtesting, most players didn't find them very fun. So similar like games like the Bazaar, you have the ability to like slow your enemy, to poison your enemy, to destroy their cards, to freeze their cards. But I think because of the difference in goals, in this one, you're not trying to destroy your enemy. You're trying to just gather as much as you can. All
Hmm.
the card abilities have become more resource focused, um, which is kind of what led me to building that second major part, which is like your universe. So now you've got like your lineup, but you've also got your universe where you have planets that might buff your lineup. You've got things that might generate resources after every battle. You've got things that spawn a unit or that buff your lineup in some way. So it's kind of it added it forced me. It didn't force me, but it kind of led me to add this extra element of like base building or universe management alongside the actual inventory management as well.
So like I'm seeing I'm it's interesting you mentioned the bazaar. I actually worked on the bazaar for a very small amount of time.
Oh, cool, awesome.
So I'm familiar with this kind of attack system. But I'm seeing a combat setup where you lay down about 5 cards, um, and they all have cooldowns. And on those cards looks like images of many different alien characters. Who are these
Yep.
alien characters that you're laying down in this setting?
Yeah. So each of them has their own little story, but it's
Mhm.
not really in the game yet. But it's in a document.
Yeah.
Um, but at the moment, it's the core idea is, and it might change because, like I said, a lot of things have changed as we've built
Mhm.
it. At the moment, it's you as a cosmic being have found these aliens unique or interesting. and so you've kind of like just taken them out of their place in time and space, and you're
Mm.
using them for your end. Again, nothing like nefarious, really. Just like there's
Yeah,
some kind of
yeah,
weird primal it's beyond our understanding. Yeah,
yeah.
maybe that's a bullshit way of saying I don't know, but like it's beyond our human understanding for this
Y-
like cosmic being to do it that way.
I mean, you say that it's interesting, like, and I feel like you talk a lot about like yin and yang and stuff like that, and it sounds like possibly like you're kind of like a pacifist or something like that. Like you're trying to stay away from like good and evil too concrete of a description of these type of things. Is that correct?
Yeah, I try to. That's a good question. I'm trying to avoid pinning it down to anything because I do like the ambiguity of it to an aspect to the player, to the gamer. I think that a lot of this is my personal opinion, that a lot of games try to over explain everything,
Hmm.
and when you leave room for imagination, or you leave a lot of room for interpretation, or the gamer's ability to put it in their own perspective and imagine it, right? You leave that space, then I think people actually come up with a lot of really interesting stuff. Like yourself, as you've kind of during this interview, I've given you bits, little bits,
Yeah.
but not everything. You've come with your own interpretation, and I love that. I kind of want to maintain that. I want people to go in thinking this is how I perceive it, and this is how someone else perceives it, and then I kind of want people to argue about that. I love seeing those, in the best kind of arts and books and media when people disagree about something because it's not fully explained. I think you get a much richer story and lore. Um, but also part of that is just not to undercut myself. Part of that is just I haven't explained that to everyone or put that in the game. But I do want to try to maintain that without like, here's the answer for everything. Here's this character's whole history
Cool.
to some degree because I do want to maintain that gaminess as well as part of it.
Hmm.
It's more of a strategy game than a story, but themes I think are really important to. They define the UI. They define why characters are on pillars instead of just in a square box UI, and these kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think that's a good place to kind of transition from the game. I like to get a little bit into your background, and then we can come back and fill in on anything we missed in the game. Um, I'm talking to you. You are currently in Australia. Did you grow up in Australia?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I've been in Australia all my life. I don't know if I've got much of an Australian accent. It kind of comes and goes. I've been told I've sound a million
It's
different
not the
accents.
heaviest I've heard.
I can put it on a bit, but like it's
Yeah,
yeah, Australian accents are quite varied all over the place.
yeah,
Not just the typical, another shrimp on the barbie kind of classic one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Does that have something to do with kind of where you grew up?
Not really. Like I just think that maybe I tend to steal people's accents a little bit if I talk to
Hmm.
them too long. So I kind of my accent kind of goes all over the place, and I talk to people across the world. Um, but yeah, I'm not really sure. Like it's just been one of those things throughout my life. I do think if I sound like Oscar Piastri a little bit. So if you listen to him speaking, it's kind of like a Melbourne accent.
Obviously Mercedes, I think did 500
Maybe
laps
that's
across.
just like dreams of being an F1 driver or something. But
Yeah, I don't know who he is,
yeah,
but
there's a little bit of that. If you hear these kind of like Melburnian accents, it's sometimes they're just a
ah,
bit like this.
yeah, Melbourne. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So from from a young age to like college to if you went to college or what got you into game development to now, how did that work? Like, were you into video games when you were a kid, and then how did you get here?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, always been interested in video games. Started with the N64. I think we did have a Super Nintendo, but I didn't really play it with my age. So
Hmm.
N64 was always playing stuff on there. I think I played StarCraft on N64, which is wild to think now.
Cool.
Um, so lots of different games on there. Lots of favorites: GoldenEye, Perfect Dark,
Yeah.
really really good games. Conker's Bad Fur Day, although maybe a bit too young to play it, was a great game. All this kind of stuff, and then moved on to Xbox. So Halo, these kind of classics.
Yeah.
Um, 360, and then into more PC gaming, RuneScape being a big one, and then World of Warcraft, and then games like Counter Strike Source, Gary's mod, and then big one being Dota 2. And then as I've gotten older, I guess maybe because my reflexes have slowed down, but I've gotten more into strategy games and board games, and this is where this kind of game development journey started, probably around 2019. So,
Hmm.
or I guess I've jumped ahead a bit, but like I went to university or college, as you guys call it, for software engineering. So by day, I'm a software engineer, and by
Yeah.
night, a game developer. So I don't do game development commercially. It's really just a side hobby and passion, and something that I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I got into building games because I used to do modding for Warcraft 3 way back in the day, building maps and hosting them, and it was really fun to see people join. And I mean, they're pretty bad, and I wouldn't revisit them, but it
Yeah.
was very early days. And then doing things like Flash, Flash games back in the day when they were still legal to run on the internet until they got banned by
Yeah.
all the browsers for being super insecure.
Hmm.
So there's always been like a bit of dabbling, um, but I've never fully released the game. So I've always built something, enjoyed it for a while, and then kind of abandoned it.
Hmm.
This Nanok, the first time I've like actually committed to releasing something on Steam and releasing something out there to the world and getting people I don't know to play it, which
Yeah.
has been really scary. Like it's been great. I've got mixed feedback, which I think is really good. I've had some people who like really love it, and I've had some people who like immediately hate it, say like this game design flaws and this is bad and the UI is bad and kind of stuff. So that's been a really interesting journey for me. Like I've in my professional career released a lot of software, released a lot of web apps and APIs and full stack stuff, database migrations and all. Usually building stuff end to end. So I've kind of been confident in that more like design aspect and product aspect, but game design is very different. Trying to make something, trying to automate. Let's say like you want to make it easier to file your taxes. You build a web app for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's complex. It's a complex domain, right? Like tax and stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got concrete
Yeah.
things you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Trying to build something fun is really
Yeah.
abstract and really you don't know it until it's done. And if it sounds fun on paper, you won't. You can't prove it until you've built it and
Yeah.
people that aren't you have playtested it. So that's been a big focus on me is like playtesting. So the game's changed tremendously
Yeah.
since its early versions. It's only been in development for about 5 months, but it's changed really a lot since the initial idea. Some stuff stayed the same, but overall, like the flow and design, um, it's just changed based on what people say, and not everything they say as well. It's a balance, right? But
Yeah. Uh,
that's
well,
kind of been the journey.
yeah. So you said something there that I think I really want to highlight. You felt fairly confident in your ability to make games, especially with software background. You had touched on some simple games, and you had your friends play them and all this stuff. And then came the time when you actually wanted to like see this thing through and get it out to the public. And you're realizing that that's a big hurdle. I mean, I think the whole thing's humbling. People can really like crush you, like so in their feedback. Not only have you decided you're going to follow this one through, but you're here, doing an interview, talking about your story, which takes a lot of courage, I think, as well. What was that one thing one day when you were like, why, I got to do this for real? Like, was there any like single inspiration that just pushed you over the edge that way?
Yeah, so like I guess uh probably for a few years I've like written down a goal at the start of the year, and I mean I've had a few like get
Mm,
abs and this kind of stuff. Never achieved that, but I
mm,
had one which was like release a game to Steam and make like $1 off it. Like
mm-hmm,
that was my goal. Like that to me that felt like small enough.
mm-hmm,
Um, like I'm not trying to become a millionaire off game.
mm-hmm,
And I had that for a few years, and I never did it. Like I bought the Steam, you pay the Steam fee, I bought that 5 years
Yeah.
ago, and
Yeah.
I'm still using the same one. But so I had that goal. I guess what stopped me and what unblocked me to achieve that was just kind of committing. So a lot of times I would find I would build an idea, it would get to a certain state, and I wouldn't find it fun anymore, and I would just move on.
Yeah.
Um, and that would usually happen because I would spend a lot of time building and not a lot of time shipping and not a lot of time playtesting,
Mm.
and also not a lot of time designing.
Yeah.
And by designing, I don't mean UI UX design. I mean game designing. So what I changed in my process, which I think helped me a lot, was do a lot more upfront design.
Hmm.
Not to the point where I'm like everything's fleshed out, but at least like a core game loop,
Hmm.
and then building a prototype of that core game loop, scrappily, quickly as possible, and getting it in front of someone else. So I have I think it's important to have like people that are close that'll give you feedback that's real, but also that aren't going to crush you, like you said. So when I got those early signs, early signals of success, of there's a little bit of fun here.
Hmm.
Of course, they had like a million comments, but like they found the resource gathering. It's
Yeah.
ticked something in their brain, like
Hmm.
something was nice
Yeah.
about doing that. When I found that one mechanic was nice.
Hmm.
Okay, hone in on that and polish that, and make that the core game thing. So I guess advice if you're finding that you're picking up a lot of projects and throwing them away. I think that's okay, by the way. I think you shouldn't commit to everything,
Yeah.
but playtest, get people to try it. It's completely different to build something by yourself to even and then even just talk about it versus watching someone play it.
Yeah.
I think that fundamentally transitions the art of what you've done when someone else consumes it and sees it for the first time because it's I guess it comes back to that thing of like imagination and that room to for interpretation. Everything you build will be seen completely different by a fresh pair of eyes. So if
Yeah.
you can get it to that point where it's playable and you can deliver it to someone, and in my opinion, I think you should watch them play it
Hmm.
either through screen recording or video. It'll fundamentally transition it from just like an idea to something real, and I think that's what I'd recommend. That's my advice. Um, yeah.
Cool. So, and again, you had a semi head start as a software engineer. Um, so you know all the kind of under the hood of game development. But what about somebody who doesn't have a software background or even an art background or anything? Do you have any advice for them, or do you think?
I think that you play to your strength. So if you're not a good artist and you don't know how to program, what are your strengths relating to games? Are you really good at writing stories? Are you really
Mhm.
good at designing mechanics? Are you really good at coming up with ideas? I think find those strengths and you might and if you don't know them, explore, try something, try writing, you know, even
Yeah,
before games.
yeah,
Just try writing like a paragraph or a story or something little. Or you don't know if you're good at art or not, try drawing something and showing it to someone. Do
hmm,
these little building blocks that will lead you into building a game because building a game involves a lot of different stuff, but it might not involve nice art. There's a lot of
yeah,
games out there with bad art, with pixel that's terrible, or with MS Paint drawings, but they become thematic. So
yeah,
I think don't worry about those things. Try to focus on what you're trying to do, and I think it's important to know like why you try to build a game. You just thought it was cool. Do you actually understand how much is going to be involved? Are you going to enjoy just 1% of it? If you're only going to enjoy writing character stories and history and writing novels, maybe a visual novel is the way to go. But then if you don't enjoy the art, maybe just a traditional novel. So I think a lot of people have this dream of making games because it sounds super fun, and I enjoy games, so I'll enjoy making them. But you might only enjoy a small percentage of it, but that's okay. Focus on that percent, and then you can either try and collaborate with people. If you enjoy just the writing, try and find someone to do the visual part of the visual novel. Or if
yeah,
you find out you just enjoy the coding, try and find an artist. There's a lot of those kind of opportunities as well. But you can learn a lot of these things, and I think it's a lot easier these days. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials. I think AI as a conversational partner and someone to help you get started can be really, really good as well.
Yeah.
Um, these kind of things, yeah.
Um, when you're talking, it struck me on one of my like motivational tools or processes is that um, some days I'm like, I can't, I just can't get started. I don't want to touch it. And what I do is I go, okay, just go and turn on your computer and load up Unity. I mostly develop in Unity. So just get Unity load up and then go, and then just go like lay down for like another 30 minutes or just have it ready and then go lay down. Like just do that one little thing, and then it's like, what kind of thinking about this class, or I'm thinking about this script. Okay, just go load up Visual Studio, create the script, maybe give it one or two variables, or just give the class a name, and then go lay down again for like another. Just doing one little thing and not feeling like you have like if I just go turn on the computer, I don't have to like actually work today. I'm just turning it on. That eventually can lead you into working. And once you are working, it's hard to stop. Once I'm working, I can't stop until like 3 in the morning. But getting that ball rolling. So when you say like I paid for my Steam like 5 years ago, well, at least that's one less thing that you have to
Yeah.
do when you find that motivation.
Yeah, I think just like there's so many things that you'll need to do to actually release the game.
Yeah,
If you don't want to do coding today, go to Steamworks, set up Steamworks a bit.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't want to do art today, post a Reddit post about how you hate doing art and get some support.
yeah,
If you don't want to do something else, like you find something within the same realm and focus on that so you're still achieving something within it. There's always
yeah,
going to be like days where you feel more motivated than others. I think the classic like discipline will get you there. Definitely starting. I think starting and finishing are the most hardest parts. In the middle can be really fun, right? Because there's no responsibilities. You're just kind of vibing. You're doing shit.
hmm,
you're outputting stuff. You're progressing. Everything's great. But then finishing it is really hard.
yeah,
But also, like you
yeah,
said, starting, like just launching and like, staring at a gray cube in Unity is like probably the most demotivating thing in the world.
yeah,
Add a light, add a sphere, maybe not a capsule, but
yeah,
add a sphere, add something else. Find an asset pack online.
yeah,
Find what motivates you and try to play to your strength.
yeah,
To me, it's seeing people give feedback on it.
hmm,
That's always been the big motivator for me, good or bad. Just knowing that something I built that didn't exist before, there was nothing, and now there's something, and that people are giving their opinions on it. That's motivated me. But that won't be the same for everyone. If it's you find that bit,
yeah,
and it will take trial and error to get there.
yeah. Cool. I think that's a good place to start moving into my ending sequence, I'll call it. What I like to do is ask you, you talk a lot about playtesting. So with NARNOK, is there any like bottlenecks that you'd like to clear up for anybody who is going to go try this demo right now? Like any, did you see playtesters get really confused with one thing and you just want to tell them like, hey, do this, make sure you do this. Like,
I did, definitely. But those were the best. That's the best feedback. If someone says, "I don't understand this," I never want to explain to it. I think for me, when someone's playtesting, I try to be as quiet as possible, unless they get completely stuck for like an elongated period of time.
yeah.
Because that's when you'll find things that are most wrong with your project,
Hmm.
and it can be humbling, and you have to kind of accept it. Like it's to you, you in your head, you'll be screaming. You say, "It's obvious. Just click that button or just drag it."
Yeah.
But to them, it's not. And so that becomes a real either game design or UI, UX problem that you need to solve. If
Yeah.
someone's not clicking something, is it because the mouse cursor isn't changing when they hover over it? Is it because they don't see any other interactions? Why would they drag it? They don't know what they're doing. It's also been why I've avoided doing any tutorials in the game so far. I really just want people to go in blind, and I know it makes it tougher for gamers to do that. Although a lot of people just skip tutorials anyway. I think if you try and take every problem you find in playtesting as something to solve, don't take playtesters solutions. If someone says, "Oh, I didn't know I could drag this. You should add this," don't take that. Maybe, but probably don't. But take their problem. I think you can trust their problems, but you should trust your own.
Yeah.
And then play test again and verify the solution. Um, but yeah, definitely you will feel that frustration watching someone play something that you've played a million times or that's so obvious to you, and them just having no
Mm.
clue.
Yeah.
If you look at any playtesting, big games and small, Valve's got some really good videos about this on, I think, Half Life 2, where they had people who would just go around in circles
Yeah.
in a cave. So they had to make it not such a weird turn or something.
Yeah.
But look at other playtesting videos and you'll see like there's ways to do it to get the most out of it. Because selfishly, you're playtesting for yourself in your game. It's not really for the playtester.
Yeah.
Although you don't have to say that to them when they're
Yeah.
testing.
And do you have? Maybe I saw somewhere that you have a Discord that you are trying to get people to give you feedback about this game.
Yeah, I do. So I've been getting some pretty good threads there. I've also like proactively seeked out feedback, so I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Most people won't give feedback. Some people are really good. They're like they'll go give you a rating, give you a review, give you a bug report, give you a follow up.
Yeah.
When you release a patch, they'll go check it. Like some people are like hold on to those people because they'll be so valuable
Oh
for
yeah.
you. They're really good
Yeah.
people to have. But a lot of people you need to like it's like pulling teeth. You really need to get the feedback
Mm.
from them.
Hmm.
And the silent majority will decide your game. So at the end of the day, want to get you want to make them talk as much as you can.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to do that, right? You can have a pop up in game. You can do explicit playtesting, which is what I do. And you can have like a survey. But yeah, all these approaches have pros and cons. So try to find ones that work best for you.
Cool. Cool. Do you have anything else you want to add to the end of this? Any shout outs?
No, not really. Like I think appreciate you doing these kind of interviews. I watched a few. I think they're really nice. I think we see the variety in developers and how they think, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what people create represents how they think and
Yeah.
how what they're building. So I really like when people's
Yeah.
personality is imprinted on the game,
Yeah.
and so hopefully mine comes across in my game. And if you
Yeah.
please try it out, and if you do, please give feedback. But if you don't, that's fine too. So
Definitely. Definitely. Well, this has been another episode of Indie Neighbor. If you like this video, check out the other interviews. Dan, thanks for watching those other interviews as well. Like, subscribe, and support all these indie developers because it's a lot of work and they're awesome. All right. Thanks.